Cat, knees, and bees. Whiskers. Sandy Nightingale. Baldric was a witch's cat. Well, to be absolutely truthful, he was a beginner. He had a lot to learn. He had to answer an advertisement in a witch's magazine. It read, "Wanted, apprentice witch's cat. Must be bright and have a good head for height. No previous experience necessary. Full training given. Basket and board. Apply Lovia nomenclature, which, first class. To Baldric's surprise, he got the job. The first thing he had to learn was how to ride a broomstick. It wasn't easy. Everyone knows that a witch's cat must be able to loop the loop and do an emergency stop without turning a whisker. Some of the other cats were very good. Baldric thought he'd never get the hang of it. But the most important part of the training was helping Lovia with all her magic potions. To be a real witch's cat, he had to pass the Silver Cauldron exam and incantations. Baldric studied late into the night for his diploma in Silver Cauldron Mill. On top of this, he had to do all the housework and cooking, and Lobelia often invited her friends to tea. They all agreed that Baldric baked the lightest sponge cakes, the most scrumptious scones, and as for his sugar-frosted mice, mice. There was one thing Baldric loved more than anything. It was mice. Stalking mice, chasing mice, catching mice. Very soon there was no mice left in Lobea's house. One afternoon, Lobia had a very important visitor. The great wizard Grimly Beamish came to ask a favor.
I need a piece of cream cheese to finish a very clever spell,
he explained gradually.
and I
Trust no one but you to do it for me. Lobelia was very flattered. Leave it to me, she said. Where is it? Lovia, replied the wizard with a horrible smirk. Baldric couldn't believe his ears. The moon made out of cheese, he thought. Everyone knows that where there's cheese, there's mice. Lobelia began the mood spell at once. Her broomstick was rather old and worn, and she was worried that it wouldn't manage to carry both her and Baldric on such a long journey. So she planned to send it on its own. It would gather the green cheese like a giant bumblebee collecting pollen. I'll show that wizard what a first-class witch I am, she cackled. But I need a rest before I try this out. Don't touch anything. Lobia yawned and went to bed. Baldric dreamed of mice and gazed up at the moon. It looked as though it was resting on top of a tall tree. If I climbed that tree, I could reach the moon easily, he thought. It was dark in the garden and a bit creepy. Baldric scrambled up the tree. At last he reached the top, but the moon was now above the chimney of Lobia's house. Suddenly, an owl hooted and Baldric jumped. Meow! He howled as he crossed through the branches, landing with a thump on the ground. When he got his breath back, Baldric tried another plan, and then another. But Baldric just couldn't give up the idea of those fat little moon mice. I know, I'll try Lobia's new spell, he meowed triumphantly. He carefully measured all the ingredients into the big black cauldron. The very last thing on the list was 1 drop of fresh beast drink. Baldric wasn't sure how much 1 drop was, but he shut his eyes and tipped up the bottle. There was a terrible flash and a lot of smoke. Baldric was so frightened that his fur stood up on end. He was very strange and not at all like himself. Oh no, he squeaked. I hope the spell wears off. But he wasn't at all sure that it would. Anyway, he thought more cheerfully, now I can fly to the moon with these funny little wings. He jumped up and launched himself into the air. The wings worked beautifully and made an odd buzzing noise. Baldric made a beeline for the moon, and he drew nearer to the surface. He could see more creatures scurrying around about. Suddenly, several of them spotted him and jumped up and down, pointing excitedly. Baldric couldn't see that they were mice and they were green. They seemed quite big, he thought, as he got a bit closer. They seemed very big indeed. Oh my whiskers, they're enormous. He wailed as he landed on the moon with a giant thud. The moon mice clustered around Baldric curiously. Who are you? Demanded the largest one. I'm Baldric. The cat, squeaked Baldric faintly. A cat, are you sure, Carl? Asked the mouse. You don't look like a cat. We don't want any cats here, shrieked another. Instantly, Baldric was seized by strong green claws and pushed from mouse to mouse until he was quite giddily. He clung to a lump of moon rock, trembling with fear. I bet he tastes delicious with a nice cheese sauce, said the largest mouse. Just then there was a whoosh overhead, and Lobia swept down on her broomstick. and plucked Baldric from the middle of the mob. The mice yelled and jeered him as Broomstick sped off into the night. Lobia grasped Baldric by the scruff of his neck and shook him till his teeth rattled. I told you not to touch anything, she screamed. You naughty disobedient, but before she could finish, her broomstick bucked like a wild horse and plummeted toward the earth, completely out of control. Lobia shrieked and let her go of Baldric, who slid helter-skelter down the broomstick. He opened his mouth to yell, but all that came out was a curious buzz. Then he remembered his wings and beat them with all his strength. At the last very moment, he pulled the broomstick out of the dive and crashed landing into some bushes. Baldric was a hero. The rock that he had been clutching the whole time was a coarse green cheese. Lobia was so pleased that she transformed him back to normal in an instant and allowed him to present the cheese to the wizard. Baldric was awarded a silver cauldron medal and an advanced broomstick license. Well, Baldric, said Lobelia, you certainly deserve a treat. How about some chocolate-covered mice? Please, Lobelia, said Baldric shyly. I think I'd rather have some sardines. Thank you for listening.